Hi everyone, it's Gwen from Hummingbird Tarot, and today I'm talking about 6 ways to improve your tarot practice and take it to the next level. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified every week when I upload a new video. Item number 1 on the list, and that is to have fun. Really, the things that people are passionate about and they're really having fun and enjoying themselves while they're doing it are the things that are the easiest in life to do. So that's my first recommendation, and that is to have fun. Item number 2 on the list is to watch and listen to others. For how to find others to listen to is to just search on YouTube or search for podcasts and listen to others that are doing readings. Listen to what they have to say. If they're not interesting, then move on to the next person. If they have things that are calling to you that make sense, take notes. Pay attention to what works for you, what doesn't. We pay attention to what we like and we do those things, and the things that we don't like, we avoid those. So do the same thing with your tarot practice. So number 3 is to study. If you really want to be comfortable, reading intuitively is very important with tarot. Paying attention to your gut, listening to your instincts is very important, but sometimes that just dries up on you and you have to rely on your basic knowledge of what a card means traditionally. So the more tools that you have in your wheelhouse, the more that you can draw upon when you're actually practicing tarot. The best way to do that and to add more tools to your toolbox is to study. I actually recommend that you start with, if there's decks that really call out to you, see if that deck has a companion book that goes with it. If you can buy a deck and book set, buy that. I do have some recommendations for some books that I've read that are really interesting. So the first 2 books I'm going to recommend are just a fun read, but they also offer different perspectives and nuggets of information on tarot that can be very helpful to you if you're new to this, or even if you're not. I've actually been reading tarot for more than 25 years now, and I still buy books that are for beginners. If there's something appealing about that book that interests me, I'm also interested in different perspectives that people have. So just stay open to always being a student, and you will constantly be learning new things that will improve and expand your practice. So the 2 books that I recommend that are fun, the first one that I recommend is A Magical Course in Tarot, and this is by Michelle Morgan. And this book is a really fun read. It's a very light-hearted, positive read. She gives you perspectives on each of the cards and goes into a little bit about her background and suggestions for reading. So this is a very fun read, and you can get through this book pretty quickly, but you can also go back and study it if there's things in here that call out to you, and use that as a resource. The other book that I'm going to recommend that's just fun that you can also learn from is The Kitchen Table Tarot. And this one is great. I really enjoyed this one also. This is like hanging out with somebody at their kitchen table, just like the name implies. It's your friend that you're hanging out with. And she also goes into the background of her practice and things that have happened to her and suggestions and recommendations for others in their readings. And then also goes into each of the cards and their card meanings. And the more that you can read, the more information that you can put in your brain about tarot, that's only going to add to and expand your practice. Now, if you're serious about studying, on top of these books, the first 2 I mentioned are a good place to start. If you're one of those hardcore people that likes a good tarot book and likes to sit down and study them cover to cover, I do have some recommendations. The first one that I like for beginners is Exploring the Tarot Using the Radiant Rider-Waite. And this book actually came in a box set that I got, and it had the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot and this book together, and then it had a big poster of spreads that you could open up. I think it was the Celtic Cross that was in there. But the reason I like this book is it has big color copies of each of the cards. So you can, if you want to take this book with you and read this on the road somewhere, or just sometimes it's a little more cumbersome to have a deck of cards and a book. You have to sit at a desk like you're studying. If you want to just sit in a chair and study and have that be a little bit easier, this is a great book for that. And this goes into, it's got all kinds of things. For each card has 2 pages worth of information. It has the card itself. It goes into upright and reverse meanings, and then it goes into different interpretations for love, money, career, and family. And then just some highlights of the cards themselves and what the card says, what its message is, and then talks a little bit about what some of the symbols might be in those cards. So this is a great book for beginners that I recommend. Thing that you might do to expand your practice is to study another system. I actually got this kit as a package deal. I bought a group of decks used from someone, and this is one of the things that they were getting rid of in that purchase, and I wasn't super interested in it. I used the Rider-Waite-Smith deck that came with this kit. It's a smaller deck. Probably it's one of my most used decks because I just love the size of it. But it also, this is called the Complete Tarot Kit, and this has a book in here that goes through the Thoth Tarot against the Rider-Waite-Smith, and each card is listed. So if you're talking about the Fool, the book has a picture of the Fool from the Thoth deck and the Fool from the Rider-Waite-Smith, goes into the meanings and the differences between both of them, and really expands and takes you on a deeper dive into the similarities and differences between those decks, and can really expand your knowledge of the tarot. The last book that I would recommend that I have on my list is The Holistic Tarot by Benebell Wen, and mad props to her for this. This is like an encyclopedia of tarot, and it goes into the history of tarot and its background, some of the major players, the cards, different ways to read them, lots of different spreads. It's pretty much got almost everything that you can think of in relationship to tarot is in this book, and I think this is probably a book that I would recommend that everybody that reads tarot has in their collection. Is one thing that I can say, every single book that I've read on tarot, even the ones for beginners that I've read recently, and I'm not a beginner, I learn new things. I'm reminded of things that I knew a long time ago that I'd forgotten about. I'm given new perspectives of ways to look at things, easier ways to remember certain things, stories that people share about their experiences with cards or spreads that help really imprint those and give me more tools in my toolkit. So that's a great way. Studying the work of others is a great way to expand your practice. So number 4 is to buy a new deck. If you haven't bought a new deck in a while, you're feeling a little stagnant, or you're feeling like you want to take your practice to the next level, it might just be that you need to find a deck that you're more passionate about. And again, I would refer you back to YouTube. There's all kinds of reviews about decks in there, and you can start by just looking at people's top favorites that they share and just watch a bunch of their favorites. And then once you've narrowed down your choices to some decks that look good for you, that would inspire you, that really want to focus on the ones that really make you feel something when you're looking at them, and then write down the names of those decks and then search up reviews so that you can see the entire deck cover to cover. Listen to the things that people say about the deck, because there can be things like the cardstock. Like for me, there was decks that I found that I was absolutely in love with. They made me feel great. And then the cards were too big or too thick, and it was really hard to shuffle. And so I just get annoyed every time I'm shuffling that deck. So those particular decks really haven't helped my practice a whole lot, and I was disappointed in them. And had I watched more reviews on them, I probably wouldn't have bought them in the first place. But there are decks that I've added to my collection that really have added to my interest and my passion, and have re-motivated me, re-energized me for reading. Just makes things a lot more fun. It really adds a lot of energy to your readings and to your practice. So find a new deck. So item number 5 on the list that I would say is, don't take things too seriously and throw the rules out the window. The first thing you'll notice, especially if you're new to tarot, is that everybody has rules of things you can and can't do. It's not okay to do this with tarot. You can't buy your first deck. You can't, there's all kinds of things that are forbidden that you're not supposed to do, or you have to shuffle this way, or you have to read in this way. You have to let the querent pick their own cards, or don't let the querent touch your cards at all. All of those things, all of those rules are right for someone, and all of those rules are wrong for someone. So the first thing you got to do is is lighten up. Don't take things too seriously. You just lighten up, cut yourself some slack. You don't have to remember all the rules. The rules, for me, from my perspective, are there as guidelines and suggestions. And what I've done in my own practice is I listen to what other people do, and I see if that looks like something that might work for me, and I try it. And if it feels uncomfortable or awkward or weird, or it doesn't work for me, I don't do it anymore. And there are a ton of rules that I thought when I first started learning tarot that I had to follow that I don't anymore. For me, shuffling the cards cleanses them. I can get rid of the energy from one reading into the next just by shuffling the cards, and that cleanses the cards. That helps me focus. That's what I use to center myself, to cleanse my space, all of that. That works for me. I don't have to burn sage in between every single reading and do heavy meditation in between. I mean, there's all kinds of rules that can really make things more complicated and cumbersome and not as much fun. So I would suggest the rules are just guidelines. Pick what works for you. Don't do any of the things that seem silly or stupid or a waste of time to you. And don't be scared either. Your intentions really set how your practice is going to go. So if you go into them confident that you're doing something that's comfortable and that works for you, it's going to be the right thing. Cut yourself some slack, give yourself some grace, and just try to have a little bit more fun. Back to rule number 1, try to have more fun with it. It's easier if you can be relaxed when you're doing readings, because the stress of being worried about messing something up and breaking the rules is only going to make it more complicated for you to remember how it is that you want to do a reading and what you want to do as a part of your readings. And then number 6, the final thing is read, read, read. So do readings for yourself, do readings for others, do free readings if you want. If you're comfortable charging, then charge people, but take every opportunity that you can to read. And that will, the practice, I mean, you should just, if you're just brand new and you're just starting to read for others, you can just pretty much assume the first 30 times you do it, you're going to mess it up. It's going to happen. If you're new to something, it takes practice, and that you need to go through that first learning part of it and make mistakes so that you can remember and expand. So practice, read, 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 read at every opportunity that you can. Don't force readings in places where you're not comfortable or it doesn't feel right, but take every opportunity that you can to read for yourself and read for others, and that will really, the more that you read, the more comfortable you're going to be doing, and that will really take your practice to the next level. If you have any questions about any of this, you want me to expand on any of this, please leave a comment below. If you have any suggestions for beginners that you'd like to add to the list, feel free. Leave a comment below and expand to this list. Thanks for stopping by. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I'll see you on the next time around.